From launch, of course, again, you had really just good market timing overall with Chainlink, launching into a lot of that excitement, seeing actually take off into barely pulling back here in 2020. Saw some really intense, pushing there in Chainlink in those early days. Finally came in for a very deep correction there in 2022, 2023. I do love the breakout backtest we've had into the previous accumulation range. So you had a long accumulation range here. This was very boring, very depressive, from bear market low in there, 600 days. Finally break over it. We've tested it multiple times here. We're still trading well above that $10 level, which actually sets us up still for long-term uptrend. Anything above 10 is technically still a higher low, and we are still in a very good spot for Chainlink. We look at current market up into maybe some of those extension-based targets using a lot of the same ranges that we use on other assets. From current market, maybe a 5x up into the 4.236 being upwards of maybe a 15x opportunity. We don't have any imbalances left behind in here. That's been fully cleaned out there on Chainlink, so it's not something I'm watching for super closely. You guys can, of course, use other ranges as well in here. If you look at the more recent range in here, assuming that we have the lows in, you could see upwards maybe $43 to $63 as those next immediate targets. You guys can always chop up a short-term plan. If we look over on the right side of the screen, and we'll go ahead and just make this one a little bit bigger here. Of course, it's a much newer asset, right? You launched from 21 forward. You've got Chainlink's got a little over 2 years of price action and market dominance since then. If I come out here to let's say the weekly chart, probably a little bit easier to read. Of course, comes in for a pretty big double top in here, right around like that $9-10 mark, breaks down. We actually told our team as this was occurring in here that we were going to be trimming some of our API3 to buy back. So seeing that there was an imbalance here left behind, reaccumulated heavily in here, bought, sold about 20% of our bag up into that retracement level in there. And then we've seen, of course, some new lows set in since then. So for Chainlink, you get back above 80, 90 cents. You've got a really, really strong floor of support that's back in play here. Bitcoin has found a little bit of its footing, and we are finding some minor support here around 50 cents. The big reasons, though, I guess we can just kind of break this back down to the single chart here now that we've taken a look at Chainlink. Pull back API3. Sorry, guys. There we go. So we pull back API3 in here. You guys can also use potentially this more short-term range in here as well for your fib range. So if we're using a more immediate range in here, we still get 7, 11, 16, and 18 as those values up there. So that would be upwards of maybe a 12x, a 20x, upwards of maybe a 32x. Of course, we go from the ultimate high in here to the low that was set in there. We get some repeat values in here. That's gonna be in the $7 region, and that's gonna be in like the 15 to 16, and then potentially upwards towards like the $30 to $35 region up there.